Hello, it's 1 o'clock and welcome to this Sky News special programme on a space mission poised to make history.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Watches as India attempts to become the first country to reach the South Pole of the Moon. The Vikram lander is due to reach what's commonly referred to as the dark side of the Moon in just over half an hour's time. We'll have all the latest live from Mission Control as thousands of people across India eagerly await the big moment. It comes just days after Russia attempted the same thing unsuccessfully. Today's landing, if successful, will become one of only a handful of successful missions to touch down on the lunar surface. Hello, very good afternoon. Well, in just over half an hour's time, India will attempt to make history by landing near the South Pole, also known as the dark side of the Moon. Only 3 nations have ever touched down on the Moon itself. None of them, however, have successfully reached the Moon's south. Well, over the next hour, we'll discuss what's driving this new race to the Moon, what it could mean for the future of space exploration, and, of course, we'll bring you that landing live. So these are the live pictures you're seeing now from the Mission Control Centre in India. And we should also get pictures from the Vikram robotic lander a bit later as well, which was launched into space in July. There you go. Well, the Indian Space Research Organisation, which is carrying out this mission, is looking to run tests on the composition of the Moon's surface. And the spacecraft will also attempt to find the presence of water ice in the lunar soil. So lots to discuss in this hour. I've got here with me our science and technology editor, Tom Clark, and the space journalist, Kate Arkless-Gray, and they'll be taking us through all we need to know over the next hour, so welcome to both of you.
Thanks.
I've also got Sky's India reporter, Neville Lazarus, who's joining me now from Delhi. So, Neville, to you, first of all, then. India, then, hoping to make history today. Just how important is this moon mission to the country?
Well, it is really important because India wants to showcase its prowess in space technology. If it's successful, it will be the first country in the world to land on the southern side of the Moon, the 4th country in the world to have a spacecraft after the United States, as well as Soviet Union and China. There is a lot of excitement, but also apprehension because the previous Chandrayaan 2, the predecessor to this one, had failed. It was just a few kilometers above the surface of the Moon, but crashed about 4 years ago. Then over the weekend, we had the Russian Lunar 25 crashing. So till the time there is a success and we see the rover rolling out of the belly of the lander Vikram, and they won't call it yet, but definitely a big exciting story out here, a lot of apprehension and a big surge of national pride in the country of something like this in terms of because of also the costs involved. This cost just $74 million, this whole Chandrayaan 3 mission. Just to give you a comparison, Anna, the blockbuster Interstellar Hollywood film cost $165 million, double the cost of this mission. The film Gravity was budgeted at over $100 million. So therefore, India trying to make that delicate balance of the cost of explorations of space and the Moon vis-a-vis all its other programs and projects of poverty alleviation, education, health, etc. But definitely a big, proud moment if it's a success.
Yes, Neville, and do stay with us because I know you'll be helping us through the next hour with all your knowledge of the situation there in India. But let me bring in Tom Clark now. And Tom, just if this is successful, how great an achievement would this be for India?
Massive. I mean, landing on the moon's really, really hard. So just, being able to stick the landing would be a huge step for any country. And as we were just hearing there from Neville, this has been done on a tight budget using, from a much sort of a different technological base, from countries like the US and certainly Russia, who've had decades of experience of building lunar landers. As we saw on Saturday, Russia even failed to make it into lunar orbits. Already, India's sort of got significantly further because they're actually in their landing phase now. I'm on the edge of my seat. God knows what it's like for people watching in India and for all those scientists in mission control there who have so much riding on this, and this is about to become a very, very tense moment, where effectively, it's just fingers crossed and hope it sticks the landing, really.
Yes, and so, Kate, a really tense moment, a hard thing to do. So give us a rough idea of what we expect to see in the next, well, it's half an hour, isn't it, really, until the touchdown is anticipated?
Well, hopefully the craft will get into the correct position in its orbit, and then they will initiate their automated landing sequence. And from that point on, we just have to hope that they find a nice, safe place to land. They're aiming for an area about 4 kilometres by 4 kilometres. And the problem with the area that they're trying to land on, and this is one of the reasons that the Apollo missions never went down to the South Pole, they all around the equator, it's very mountainous, there's craters and dips, and it's going to be very hard to find a safe place to land. So that's one of the things that the lander will be looking at, is the surface. Can they touch down safely? And if not, they can always try again.
Oh, that's interesting. So they can have another go. How soon could that happen?
So I've seen a couple of things. One said that they could try again in a few days' time, and another one, if they go too far into the lunar day, there's only like 14 days where they'll have sunlight for their rover to get power from the solar arrays, and then it goes into a lunar night, and it would be too cold. That might just kill off the rover completely. So if they go too far into that 14-day period, they would try again in September.
Oh, fascinating stuff. So a really difficult mission. But they've learnt a lot from one of their previous missions, haven't they, which went wrong. And actually, that has provided some useful information.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sort of speculate on the percentage chance of success, because as we were just hearing, there's so many unknowns here as well, lots of things that can go wrong. But in a way, you could probably rate their chances definitely higher than the last time they tried it, and maybe the Russia as well, because they've tried landing a machine just almost exactly the same as this one 4 years ago. It failed. They will have learnt a lot from that failure. They would have seen any wrinkles that went wrong. They've addressed those. They've also made a lot of modifications to the lander, to the instrument that selects the landing site, as I understand it. They've improved that as well to give them better eyes on this, as we were hearing there, that 4 kilometre square sort of safe landing zone. So I'd rate their chances as a lot better, but I wouldn't want to speculate on whether it's going to be a success. But if it is, and I think the statistics speak for this, very few missions have successfully made this soft landing on the moon. It's very hard to do. We saw an extremely high-tech mission from a private enterprise out of Japan fail in May to land a mission on the moon. This is hard to do. It would be a huge triumph if they do pull it off. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we're keeping a very close eye on these pictures which are coming into us from the Indian Space Research Organisation. And so the plan is obviously that the landing goes successfully, but then what happens? Because the rover should emerge then, shouldn't it, from the lander, and what will it be doing?
So there are different instruments that are on both the lander and on the rover to look at different parts of the moon's composition. They've also got a seismometer, so they'll be investigating any seismic activity around the landing site. But this key thing is really looking for water ice, because that's what everybody wants the water ice.
And why is that so important?
So if you've got water, then you can, if you have a crew up there that's drinking water for you, you can break it down into oxygen, which you can then breathe, also hydrogen, which would allow you to use it as rocket fuel if you wanted to then go further, say, onto Mars. So it's a very high-interest area that they're aiming for.
Well, yeah, and so what does that tell us about the future? Obviously, as far as this mission is concerned, just landing would be a huge achievement. If they then manage to carry out scientific experiments, that's a further achievement. But that's all useful for the future as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's why, obviously, launches are becoming cheaper, the technology advanced a lot, but we are seeing, this is the busiest the moon has ever been. We've got missions almost queuing up to get to the moon now. We had Russia fail just on Saturday. This coming Saturday, Japan is launching a national lander mission to the moon as well. We've got the US in November, a NASA-funded, but again, a privately built mission that's going right to the lunar South Pole, also looking for water. Next year, NASA's planning to put astronauts around the moon as part of its Artemis program, the first time they've done that since the end of the Great Moon era. China, too, has a robotic mission planned next year and ambitions to send astronauts to the moon by 2030. It's getting really exciting. Yeah, that water's important. It's about, can you establish a presence there potentially? If we have time, there's some really scientifically interesting things to do with that water. I can come on to those if we need to dash back to mission control or not. Shall I carry on?
Go on, tell us.
Fascinating to me. I was just hearing about this. So not only is that water important from an exploration point of view, from building a base, as we were hearing, it's also this South Pole of the Moon, one of the coldest parts of the solar system, even though it's really close to us. All of the molecules, including water, but other interesting molecules that may have been fundamentally important in creating our solar system, will have been laid down there, a bit like how frost gravitates to the coldest part of your freezer. It will have gravitated there for about 1 billion years. So potentially stored in that water ice is a 1 billion-year record of the chemistry and atmospheric activities on the moon. Going back through all that time, in there could be locked really important information about the evolution of our solar system and what's been going on the moon. From a basic science point of view. So that alone would be extremely interesting.
So fascinating for looking to the future, but also looking back to the past as well.
Yeah.
And Neville Lazarus, if I can come back to you there in Delhi, we've got a sense then of how many different countries are trying to launch their own moon missions. Give us an idea of why Prime Minister Narendra Modi is so keen on this project and so keen on his country having a successful space programme.
Well, the moon mission, the Chandrayaan mission, which started about 15 years ago, this basically predates his 9 years of his second of 2 terms that he's been in Prime Minister. So it has been there in the past before his period of governance by the previous dispensations. He has obviously given it a big boost with the sort of effort and push that he has made, and he wants to showcase India as a big power in science and technology, in space explorations. He's definitely given that push. The government's provided a lot of the finances, though not enough in comparison to others. For example, the Indian Space Department has a budget of $1.5 billion a year in comparison to NASA's about $25 billion a year. But still, there has been a lot of push from Prime Minister Modi, and he wants to definitely showcase India's prowess in this arena.
OK, Neville, for the moment, thank you for that. Well, Tom, give us a few more details then. You've got some graphics. So, tell us a little bit about what we can expect to see today.
Well, the South Pole, let's bring that back on. So, as we were just hearing, we were discussing a second ago, these are where other missions have gone in the past. And as you can see, a real focus on these, much easier to land on sunlit sort of uplands of the moon, much easier to get to in that sort of equatorial area. Chandrayaan 2, this was the failed mission, is down there, and that's exactly the spot that Chandrayaan 3 is going for. Right, not to the South Pole itself, but pretty close to it. As we're hearing, that's fundamentally interesting because of the water that might be down there. But this gives you an idea, not many missions have actually made it. Many of them have failed, yet it's getting really busy. So, as I was saying, in May of this year, Japan's ice-based mission headed to the moon. It failed. Unfortunately, we don't quite know what happened to it, but it crashed on landing. Then we had Russia's Lunar 25. That didn't even make it into its orbit around the moon. That one failed. India, obviously, hoping to stick its landing today. That would make it join the 4 nations, that would make it the 4th nation to join, along with the former Soviet Union, the US, China as well. But this is just the start. We've got Saturday, Japan launching its mission and this is a really innovative one that's going to try and be really pinpoint its accuracy of where it can land. We don't quite know the landing site for that yet. We've got NASA, the American-funded mission, going right to the lunar South Pole, launching in November of this year. And that will be the way. If anyone's going to really sort of confirm how much water, the presence of it, that mission could be a really exciting one to watch. And then again, we've got astronauts going around the moon with NASA in launching next year, if all goes to plan. And then, the Chinese following up. So a really busy time. It's the busiest the moon's ever been, actually, in terms of humans anyway.
Yeah, for a really exciting time for space exploration.
And that water, picking up on that, so the water's significant. As Kate was telling us earlier, there's the science of the water, what it could teach us about the solar system. But we've also got the possibility to build a base on the moon and survive there. We've got the possibility of it as a staging post for future missions, but also the potential for extracting mineral resources if you can have a permanent base there, and that could be significant and controversial too.
Yes. Absolutely. We can discuss that a little bit later, but Tom, for the moment, thanks for that. Do stay with us. We've got lots more coming up after the break as India attempts the first ever landing on the moon's frozen South Pole. That's coming up.
The pound has rallied. Moderation, interest rates peaking
up at 6%.
The highest for 14 years.
Will that be the peak? Will it be a little bit lower?
Prices. It's closer to a potential crash.
So many words, so many meanings. But what do they mean for you and your finances? Stay up to date on Sky News.
Welcome back. India is on the brink of making space history this lunchtime as the first nation to land near the south pole of the moon. This is the scene live at Mission Control right now. Let's bring in our India reporter, Neville Lazarus, who's live for us in Delhi today. So, Neville, you were talking about how India hopes to gain great international credibility and prestige through this mission, but there's also a real keenness to promote the education of children as well, isn't there? How are children around India watching today's touchdown?
Well, there is a great interest in this. The Indian children in schools, etc. The sciences and maths are a great. There's a lot of emphasis on those subjects, and therefore there has been a lot of interest from school children. A lot of schools, in fact, have remained open for this evening so that the children can stay back and watch this great moment. There has been a lot of interest. I would say there was a lot of excitement, in fact, before that, but also trepidation of maybe something, it may not be successful, so don't keep your hopes that high. But at the moment, excitement, and everyone's waiting to see this happen out here. Just to give you a slight of what the previous question on Prime Minister Modi's emphasis on these missions. Earlier on, India has always been a low Earth orbit missions that it conducted, mainly for surveys and communications. But now, over the last few years, the mission to Mars and the mission to the moon has been given a big boost, and this is primarily a lot to do with the present dispensation on Prime Minister Modi's push.
OK, Neville, thank you. Well, as Neville was just saying, moon missions are notoriously complex, but let's take a look now at previous landings. And the US Apollo space programme landed 12 American men on the moon on 6 visits between 1969 and 1972, the only people to walk on the moon. The former Soviet Union and China have landed rovers on the moon, but no man or woman. India will be the 4th country only to do so if its mission is successful. It's aiming to land on the lunar South Pole, and it would be the first country to do that. Well, Russia failed to land on the South Pole last weekend after its craft spun out of control. So let's bring in, once again, our science and technology editor, Tom Clark, and Kate Arkless-Gray, who are both here with me watching what's going on right now. And Tom, tell us what should be happening at this stage, because the landing was due to happen in around 15 minutes' time. So what do we expect?
As we understand it, yeah, so the lander has started firing its thrusters. That's to slow it down and bring it out of the sort of 30-kilometre orbit that it was at to begin with, and bring it right down towards the lunar surface. And that burn, I believe, as Kate was saying, that's an automated sequence. So it's out of mission control's hand. Once they initiate that sequence, they'll have picked their landing spot, and it will just literally be 15 minutes of,
You've got your fingers crossed.
Exactly. I can assume that's what's happening in mission control as well, while they see that, and they will get a signal if there's been a successful landing. If things go spectacularly wrong, it might be unclear for a while what's happening. The moon isn't a huge distance away. It's only 2-3 seconds delay on any signal, so they will know pretty much straight away. But it might take time to establish signals, etc., with the lander itself. So we're in that window now.
Yeah, okay, and that is a tense window, is it?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many people who've worked on this mission for so long, and I think they'll be very nervous because they got so close last time, and then they had that, the failure of some software, and they crashed. And if we've looked at some of the previous missions, I mean, with the Soviets had all their space history. They were, winning all of those lunar races until the US landed humans on the moon. For them to have a failure, Russia to have a failure this weekend is quite a surprise, I would say. And I'm sure there'll be some bruised egos over in Russia.
Well, yes, that's right, because this isn't just about the science, is it, Tom? Inevitably, geopolitics plays into all of this as well.
Absolutely, and I mean, this is speculation. We don't know what the inner workings of the Kremlin, but I think it has been suggested that they may have accelerated their mission to try and get to the surface of the moon before India. That could have played a role in the fact it failed. There was also, Vladimir Putin wanted to make a statement here to show that they could still pull off this kind of very, very high-stakes exploration under very harsh sanctions. But we've also got to remember that since the collapse of the Soviet Union, there hasn't been anything like the same level of investment in space exploration in Russia. And they've had problems with access to high technology and scientific collaboration for quite a long time, since the invasion, since the Crimea crisis, actually, going back quite a lot further. So the Ukraine invasion has only made that harder. And it would have been a big blow. And also, I think, for the scientists working in Russia, a real frustration as well, because they do have some very, very high-quality space scientists in Russia who are working under very difficult circumstances at the moment. And there has been criticism, I believe, already coming out of Russia, that they just haven't had the resource or the capability to really pull this off, and it was too much to expect.
And very briefly, Kate, we're seeing pictures from Mission Control showing rough braking, RB fire. We're seeing the altitude coming down. Presumably that's the progress of this lander as it heads towards the surface of the moon.
Yeah, I think the expected touchdown was supposed to be at around 2:04 on British summer time. So we've still got a little bit of time to go, unless they've accelerated that slightly
it's
now.
4 minutes past 5 India time. I think it's 13:34 our time. Well, we'll find out eventually. I believe it's 1:34, but we may be.
So they're braking at the moment, and then they go into a powered descent phase.
Oh, and they're going to
which should be around 1:45, and then that's where the automated landing sequence begins.
I defer to your, absolutely defer to your expertise on that one. So they're going to hold there. But what we were seeing there was, yes, they've taken the plunge. They are on their descent now, aren't they?
Yes.
We saw the kilometres ticking away there. I would suggest, I think I saw 16, 15 kilometres, so maybe halfway on that sort of, from that 30-kilometre orbit they were in, down to that 7.5-kilometre orbit before they decide when to land.
OK, and so we're into a crucial phase. Do stay with us. We've got lots more coverage on our special programme coming up after this short break. Welcome back. You're watching a special programme on India's attempt to make space history this lunchtime as the first nation to land on the south side of the moon. We can show you some live pictures that are being brought to us by the Indian Space Research Organisation showing mission control. And we're coming to a key moment. Well, there's the Prime Minister Narendra Modi there on their pictures. So interesting to see whether or not he is going to address everybody ahead of the expected touchdown. And let's clarify some of the timings, because we were speculating a little bit before the break about when exactly we will see this landing. Tom, what can you tell us about how far away we should be?
As we understand it, I'm looking up at the screen because I'm seeing the altitude. It's at 0.9 kilometres. So that's, it's 900 metres, 890 metres above the surface of the moon, firing its thrusters. Those little boosters there you'll be see to adjusting its attitude. They need to make sure they get absolutely level on touchdown. And we should be expecting it to make the surface of the moon in, it's 13:29, in 5 minutes' time. But there's still applause. Velocity is slowed down. But we're not expecting the landing for a few more minutes to come. Yeah, we're still at 800 metres perhaps
These are extraordinary
the
pictures,
applause
though,
could
aren't
be
they?
just that
Yeah.
things are all going according to plan. As Kate was saying, this is an automated sequence, so there's the attitude and the speed of the spacecraft is being controlled by software on board, not by mission control. It's not being flown down to the surface by mission control. So they're literally just monitoring its progress, seeing how it's getting there. But when they say soft landing, that's really what it has to be. It's got to hit the moon as gently as possible. Chandrayaan 3 does have stronger legs than its predecessor, Chandrayaan 2, to try and, improve its chances once it gets there. And
that could be why there was a cheer, actually, because if they've got beneath the velocity, the new stronger legs could apparently cope with a landing that was going at 10.8 kilometres per hour, and they've gone below that. So in theory, even at this point, if they
stay level, they're moving at a speed
crashed,
that the spacecraft could sustain a landing at. So that would be a really good thing. They're now down to 6 metres a second, and the altitude falling too, just over 200 metres above the moon's surface now. And assuming that graphic there is a physical representation of what's actually happening at the moon, they are level and they are very gingerly. Well, I say gingerly. It's going down at sort of a few metres a second, so it's still moving quite speedily. But no, that's falling all the time. Now down to 1 metre a second, and that is a very gentle approach, as far as we can tell, from the moment.
And watched with bated breath by everyone in that mission control room, and also by the Prime Minister, who they've got on a feed there. Presumably, this is really important for him politically.
Absolutely. There's a huge, an enormous amount of prestige riding on this for India. They are a relative newcomer to the space industry. They are very proud of the technology companies that built not just this lander, but also the orbiter that took it there, the rocket and the boosters that launched it from Indian soil into orbit as well. They didn't rely on any external help for that. This is a huge prestige moment for India. And it'll be watched very closely by the rest of the world too, because, they'll be if they do stick this, they'll be only the fourth country who's ever done it.
And Kate, some tense faces there in mission control. How delicate a moment is this, the actual touchdown? Because presumably the speed they're going is absolutely vital in whether or not this is successful.
Absolutely, but as we were just saying, because of the incident they had on the previous mission, they have now put in extra strong legs to ensure that if it drops down too quickly, hopefully the vehicle itself would be okay, and the rover that it's carrying would hopefully also survive that. But I guess it's going to be some tense time wondering, once it's got there, they'll have to check out all the systems, make sure that everything is working okay. And there's also an issue with the lunar dust, because when you've got your rocket motors firing to slow you down, they do blow up clouds of lunar dust, and that can get into some of the parts and cause some issues. So, getting there is the big thing, but then after that, you want to check that everything is still okay and working.
So plenty of jeopardy at each stage of this, I guess. And to what extent, they've obviously done a lot of research into the surface of the moon in this area, but what are the big dangers? I mean, it's, as you say, it's a very rough surface, isn't it? Far more craters than in some other parts.
Yeah, but they've managed to get a lot more...
Just going to interrupt because there's...
I think they've done it.
Oh, wow.
Applauding. Let us all wait to hear from the Secretary, Department of Space and Chairman ISRO, Shri S. Somnath.
लैंडर मॉड्यूल पूरी तरह से सेफली और सॉफ्टली चंद्रमा के सतह पे लैंड हो चुका है.
So confirmation we're having that it has landed successfully. So an extraordinary moment. India has made history by becoming the first nation to land near the moon's south pole. India now only the fourth country to have achieved a soft landing on the moon as well. Let's see if we can listen in.
आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, नमस्कार. Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon. Sir, I request our Honorable Prime Minister to address us and bless us. Thank you, sir.
मेरे प्यारे परिवारजनों, जब हम अपनी आंखों के सामने ऐसा इतिहास बनते हुए देखते हैं तो जीवन धन्य हो जाता है। ऐसी ऐतिहासिक घटनाएं राष्ट्र जीवन की ये पल अविस्मरणीय है। ये क्षण
For today and for our future generations.
ये क्षण विकसित भारत के शंखनाद का है।
This is the efforts of the whole country, India. This is the energy of new India. We have conquered the oceans of difficulties and we have won. And it is to walk on truth, on the path of truth. This is the heartbeat and effort of 1.4 billion people. This is the new India, the new beginning, the new thinking, the new efforts of new India. This is the shining India, and this is future of the shine of India. In the years of this new beginning on earth, we made a promise on earth and we made it true on the surface of the moon. Our scientists just said India is on the moon. Today we are in space. We have proved to the world that we are there in space. I am in the BRICS summit at the moment. I have come here to attend here, and I'm in Africa. But like every citizen, my mind and heart is on the Chandrayaan mission. This is a historic moment, and for every Indian, we are all very proud. And from within my heart, and with all my family members, the whole country, which is my family, I'm joined with them. I wish all the scientists of the Chandrayaan mission, ISRO, and also everyone, congratulate each one of them who have devoted their life for many years for this mission. And for the hope and for the future. And I want to congratulate the 1.4 billion citizens of my family. The promise of our scientists. They have managed to get the spacecraft on the southern part of the moon, which no other country has achieved so far. So everything now associated with the moon, we will be there for everything. And for the new generations, this is going to make a change. For India, we say the earth is our mother, and the moon was also considered the mother's brother. And there's a saying that the mother's brother is far away from here. It is a saying in... And from now on, the children will say it's not that far. It's just...
I would like to address all the people of the world, the people of every country and region. India's successful moon mission is not just India's alone. This is a year in which the world is witnessing India's G20 presidency. Our approach of one earth, one family, one future is resonating across the globe. This human-centric approach that we present and that we represent has been welcomed universally. Our moon mission is also based on the same human-centric approach. Therefore, this success belongs to all of humanity, and it will help moon missions by other countries in the future. I am confident that all countries in the world, including those from the global south, are capable of achieving such feats. We can all aspire for the moon and beyond. मेरे परिवारजनों, चंद्रयान महाअभियान के ये उपलब्धि भारत की उड़ान
fellow
को
citizens,
चंद्रमा
for
की
this
कक्षाओं
Chandrayaan
से
mission,
आगे जाएगी.
our mission will go further, not just from here, but further from the moon surface.
और मानव के लिए
We can go beyond
ब्रह्मांड की अनेक
for mankind, and for possibilities
भी जरूर काम करेंगे.
of the future, and to help all humankind.
कई
For the
बड़े
future,
और महत्वाकांक्षी लक्ष्य तय किए. जल्द ही
we have made dreams for the future,
अध्ययन के लिए इसरो आदित्य
even to study
L1 मिशन लॉन्च करने जा रहा है.
some parts of the sun's rays. Our ISRO scientists are working on it, and this is also one of the points that our ISRO scientists are working on. And we will look into a human flight mission as well for the future. India is always showing and proving the sky is not the limit.
साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी
My fellow citizens,
देश के उज्जवल भविष्य का आधार है.
space technology is a
आज के
future,
इस दिन को देश
and so this for today,
हमेशा के लिए याद रखे. यह दिन
the country will always remember this day,
एक उज्जवल भविष्य की ओर
and this day
बढ़ने के लिए प्रेरित करे.
this will show each and every one of us, and it will provide us a dream to a path to achieve for our dreams. This is a historical moment, and this shows that we will do it. And our hard work will always win. Again, for every scientist who have worked, I congratulate them. And for the whole mission, I congratulate each one of you. Thank you.
So the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, there, hailing India's successful mission, making history today by becoming the first nation to land near the moon's south pole. He said, "We are all very proud." He said, "We've conquered the oceans of difficulties and we have won." And he said that everything associated with the moon, we will be there now for everything, and said that our success belongs to all humanity and will help missions by other countries in the future as well. So let's bring in Neville Lazarus, who's in Delhi for us this lunchtime. So Neville, clearly a very proud moment for India.
Oh, absolutely! It is a proud moment. You could feel the palpable tension in the faces of everyone sitting in the mission control a few seconds before the soft landing. Everyone was tense. You could see the faces out there. And as soon as it did, there was jubilation. There's just cry and shouts and clapping all around. You saw the Prime Minister talking about how proud he was of the scientists that have worked on this, the moon mission, and he's also promised that India will be looking into having a manned mission as well in the near future, and also go beyond the surface of the moon, beyond the moon in all its endeavors to in the space exploration. Amongst any of the countries in the world. Yes, a very, very proud moment for every Indian out here, and I think it is something to be feted all around the world and for humankind.
Neville, thanks very much indeed. And as those celebrations continue, such happy face there of Mission Control, Tom.
The delight on people's faces, the achievement. The pictures just tell us all we need to know. It's hugely exciting, and this has changed the geopolitics of space. You know, India is now they've been a player in space for a considerable time, but this totally cements the nation's position. It's not just a vote in the science and ISRO, the Indian Space Agency that delivered this. And I think the reason, apart from political prestige, geopolitically, the reason Narendra Modi is so pleased, this is a huge sign of the capability of India's high-tech sector, because the amount of technology, obviously, that goes into putting these missions onto the moon covers all areas of the economy. So it's a huge sort of signal of that. The statement, really, I think that sums it all. We had Andhra Pradesh talking there for quite a long time, but I think it was Subrai Somanath, the director of the Indian Space Agency there. He said it all. India is on the moon. I mean, that's it. India is on the moon. That's it. And the delight on his face and how proud he must be. We saw him taking that phone call there just after the Prime Minister was speaking. I love to think that was his mum or his daughter calling him to congratulate him. He must be a very, very proud man today for leading that enormous team of scientists and engineers to deliver this incredible achievement.
A very good day at work.
Absolutely. I can't think of a better one.
Lots more to discuss in just a moment as India has made history landing that spacecraft near the moon's south pole, uncharted territory. We'll explain why it's so important after the break.
pound has rallied. Moderation. Interest rates peaking.
I'm up at 6%.
The highest for 14 years.
Will that be the peak? Will it be a little bit lower?
It's closer to a potential crash.
So many words, so many meanings. But what do they mean for you and your finances? Stay up to date on Sky News.
$1,500 movies. I don't want this flight to end.
Fly Emirates, fly better.
Thank you.
Welcome back. So India has successfully landed its Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft near the moon's south pole, uncharted territory that scientists believe could hold important reserves of frozen water and precious elements. So let's bring back in Kate Aldous-Gray, space journalist, who's here with me alongside Tom Clark, of course, our science editor. And Kate, so an extraordinary achievement that they've managed to touch down on the moon's surface in an area that's never been visited before. But what next? There's still plenty to do, isn't there?
Yeah, well, one of the things that they're hoping to do on this mission is test out their rover, which is, it can drive up to about 500 metres. It's got some experiments on board, and that'll be a really interesting thing to do because they'll be able to look at different compositions of the lunar dust. I think they've also got a laser on board, so they can actually break down some rocks and have a look at what elements are contained within them. So there's a lot of interesting science that can be done, but it's just such an amazing thing that they've done this. I'm so pleased for them all. It's wonderful looking at the pictures of how happy everybody is.
Oh, the celebrations are continuing constantly, as you can imagine, and such an inspiration to the next generation.
Absolutely, and the US had its Apollo moment with the inspiration that those moon missions brought, and they saw a number of young people then following space and engineering careers, and I think surely India will have that boost. There've been school kids across the country tuned in and watching this. Perhaps some of them saw them fail to manage the landing, a few years ago, and to see it now, making it real that their country could do something like this, I think will be a huge step for them.
What would you say, Tom? A big moment generally?
An enormous moment. I mean, just picking up on that point, what better lesson for the engineers of the future? And there's 1.4 billion people in India who have been inspired by this. If you don't get it right the first time, try again and improve and innovate. And they've done that. And that's, again, another reason I think that makes this even more poignant, the success they've achieved. Really significant. And I can't help thinking as the people of India look up at the moon tonight, they'll be able to reflect on the fact that, they've got a lander up there. That they put there, and the inspiration, and also how it changes the politics of space now that India's joined a very small club of powerful nations.
Neville Lazarus there in Delhi. I imagine the celebrations will be continuing for a long time there at Mission Control, but also out in India itself and through schools and homes across the country.
Oh yes, absolutely. The excitement will be there for a very long time. In fact, there was a lot of excitement when the spacecraft went into orbit on the 14th of July. Since then, 41 days have passed since this touchdown, and there was a petering of this excitement. You know, you can't sustain that sort of excitement or joy of India's of the spacecraft going into space and then orbiting the moon. But after 41 days, when this has landed today, it is obviously going to have a big impact on generations to come. One of the issues which Tom mentioned about failing and picking up after 2019, when 4 years ago, when the Chandrayaan 2 mission failed, one of the project directors said that we've been eating, sleeping, drinking, and living the last 4 years of Chandrayaan 3 mission.
Neville Lazarus in Delhi for us today. Thanks so much. Thanks too, of course, to Tom Clark and Kate Arkless-Gray for your insights on this extraordinary day as India lands a spacecraft near the moon's south pole, uncharted territory. Scientists believe that it could hold vital reserves of frozen water and precious elements. But one thing is sure, India has cemented its growing prowess in space and technology this lunchtime. Now then, closer to home, let's take a look at the weather.
Warm memories wherever you go. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Well, it's wet for many here, but the next few days do look drier and warmer, and there'll be more rain on Friday. Most parts, though, will see temperatures around the August average today, but a stiff wind over England and Wales will make it feel cooler.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
You're watching Sky News. Coming up, India has made history, landing a spacecraft near the moon's south pole in uncharted territory. We'll have more on that at 2. Hello, this is the Sarah J. Me Show with me, Anna Jones. The headlines.
India is on the moon.
Moon landing. An Indian spacecraft successfully touches down on the moon's south pole. Also at 2. A woman donates her womb to her sister in the UK's first ever transplant. And promised jobs that don't exist. Sky News learns how the skilled worker visa system is being abused. Hello, a very good afternoon to you. And we start this lunchtime with space history being made and a successful moon landing by India. As the probe touched down on the moon's south pole, the man in charge of the mission celebrated with the words, "India is on the moon." It's become one of only 4 nations to achieve that feat. Well, the most recent attempt by Russia ended in failure and a crash. Here's how it all unfolded just a few minutes ago.
We were hovering and now we are approaching the moon's surface.
धीरे-धीरे लैंडर की वेगमान को कम किया जा रहा है और हम अब लगभग 50 मीटर से भी कम आ चुके हैं.
We can see the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, who is here to encourage us, and he is critically looking at the visuals.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम लैंडर मॉड्यूल
Well, here's how the chief of the Indian Space Research Organisation broke the news to the world.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon. Sir.
Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated the scientific team on its achievement.
The promise of our scientists, they have managed to get the spacecraft on the southern part of the moon, which no other country has achieved so far. So everything now associated with the moon, we will be there for everything. And for the new generations, this is going to make a change.
Well, let's take you live now to Delhi and Sky's India reporter Neville Lazarus. And Neville, the most extraordinary scenes of celebrations at mission control there. Just how proud a moment is this for India?
It's definitely a historic moment for India, very proud. There was a surge of pride even before in the last few days, teeing up to today's landing. But now with success on the southern side of the moon, the first ever by any country and the 4th country in the world to have a spacecraft on the moon, it is definitely a path-breaking one in terms of its space explorations off the southern side of the moon because of what findings it can achieve and send back when the rover does its data collection for the next 14 days, 1 lunar day in that sense. But at the moment, we've seen a huge encouragement from the government, especially from Prime Minister Modi. In the last few years, there was a failure in 2019 of the Chandrayaan 2, the predecessor to this one, which failed and crashed just a couple of kilometers above the moon's surface. And since then, one of the directors of the project said that we have been living, eating, drinking and sleeping the Chandrayaan 3 mission. And that's what has been proven right today with this mission. just in terms of comparison of the cost, the Chandrayaan 3 mission has costed $74 million, the whole project, according to ISRO. And in comparison to that, the Hollywood film Interstellar was made with $165 million. Gravity, another film, made with $100 million. So in comparison to the costs, India has done really, really well in making this a success and landing on the southern part of the moon.
Extraordinary statistic. Neville, thanks very much indeed. Well, let's bring in our science and technology editor, Tom Clark, who watched with me that extraordinary touchdown. Clearly a really proud moment for India, but how much of a scientific achievement is this as well?
Well, it'd be fair to say we don't quite know yet. You know, they've stuck the landing, they're there. I think the scientists in that control room, delighted they're there. They won't be truly happy until they get data from their spacecraft. Is everything working properly? Is it going to be able to achieve some of the objectives they're set to do, but hopefully all of them? They'll want to see that. They'll want to see images. They'll want to know everything's working. We don't have that confirmation yet. That's not for a second to say we doubt that it'll come, but that is the next step they need to see. But it's a huge achievement. These are very difficult to do. And as Neville was just saying there, what we've got to remember is that technically, I don't think anyone in the Indian space programme would pretend this is anywhere near as sophisticated as some of the missions that we've seen Western nations in the US, send to Mars and robotic missions beyond. But to do what they've done with the budgets they have, with the speed at which the high-tech industry in India has developed, this is an incredible achievement and will be an enormous boost. Obviously, geopolitically, we've just seen the balance shift here. We've seen India prove itself to be a technology nation. And don't forget, Russia failed to do this just as recently as Saturday, and that's a huge thing for Prime Minister Modi. It also shows, though, that India's high-tech industry is there, and I think they'll be very happy to be open for business because there's a lot of partnership in space. And we've also got to remember, although this is a nationally funded mission, a lot of missions now are going to be privately funded. That's certainly the trend in the US. It's becoming the trend in other parts of the world as well, and India will want to be part of that future private endeavour in space, and I think this sort of puts them really high up in the running for that as well. So it's a huge achievement, not to mention the enormous inspiration. I would say this because I'm the science editor, but for young people in India, this is going to be such an inspiration in terms of the capabilities of what they can do in the future with science and engineering. So I think that's just going to be huge.